Okay, and we are back with episode number 15 of the Kaizai podcast. I know it's been a while, everybody, but we finally made it back. We're here with the best podcast in Indonesia. That is a fact, by the way. We've got my main man over here, Mr. Easy. Before we jump into our wonderful guest, I would like to just give a quick shout out to Genesis Studio, where we are now. It's a new place, it's a new spot. They've moved. They're in Prerana now, so you are in Bali. Go and check them out. All the links will be in the description down below. And if you want to find the podcast on every social media platform, you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, at Kaizai. All the links, again, will be in the description. It'll be popped up on the screen. And then, obviously, at Kaizai Media on all Instagram and other social platforms to see what I'm doing with the events, the clothing, which I'm wearing now, and the podcast and the magazine. So everything will be in the description down below like it always is. And thank you for tuning in, everybody. We're going to jump into this episode. So before we jump in, I'd like to quickly introduce the legend himself, Mr. Easy. Welcome, Ease. We finally got it, and we're finally here.
We did. It's amazing. I'm impressed.
Yeah, we've been planning for it for a while, but we finally got to sit down and get it done, which is perfect. But do you just want to have a quick tell the guests where you're from, quickly, what your name is, just a quick little brief introduction so they know something about you before we move into everything else.
So, I came to Bali in 1975. I came directly from Jamaica, where I was living. And I came here. In those days, you could only be here for 30 days, and I overstayed my visa by 6 months.
As you do.
It was so good. I mean, to be here, to land here in those days, you'd have to be deaf, dumb, and blind not to know that you were in really a special place. In those days, and I'm talking about no tourism, there were 200 to 300 Westerners living here. If you didn't know the person, that person knew somebody, so you're all sort of connected.
And when was this, date-wise, for the
1975.
audience? 1975. Okay.
There were no motorcycles. Balinese all drove bicycles. Uh-huh. They all lived at home, and there were no classes.
Wow.
There was no electricity. If you want to make a phone call, you had to go to the airport in the middle of the night, 12-hour time distance to the States. There's a line of people there. You might not connect.
Okay.
You know, all that. The bank is in Denpasar. So that's the early days.
Yep.
Nothing there. Uluwatu was just like one little warang out there. It was like you had to walk in. I brought pictures, but, you know, I'll talk a little bit.
Perfect.
So, in those days, it's like there were really monsoons at this time of the year. And then we used to flee and leave and go away until the monsoons were over. And I would wind up going to Goa mostly. But on this particular trip that I did, it's like I went to Kathmandu.
Okay.
And I went to Kathmandu because I had a friend, one of my friends from Kathmandu, a Western guy, an American, been living up there for 10 years. He would do he would migrate down here for the rains and go back there for that. So I had a connection. He'd been living in Kathmandu for 10 years. And he knew everything.
And that's in Nepal, for people that don't know, just in case. Beautiful country, by the way. Amazing place.
So I have a month. I'm in between something, and I fly up to see my friend Paul. And Paul is like, he makes jewelry. And I'm staying there, and I'm thinking, well, you know, if I want to see this place, who do I want to show me? And I got a guide, a friend of mine, been here 10 years. I go to his house. He's got a wife and a couple kids, Westerners, living in Swayambhu, right next to the temple. Anyway, I'm hanging with him. I say, listen, man, you know, what are you doing for a month? How much do you make? I can pay you this much to take me around. I want to see this place through your eyes. Yeah. He takes me down to, in the middle of Kathmandu at night, on Freak Street, there's a little...
Freak Street, good old Freak Street.
Good old Freak Street, which was really freaky in those days.
Yeah, it was actually called Freak Street.
Yeah.
Now it's just called Freak Street, but it's not so freaky. But back in the day, definitely you see some shit for sure.
And there was this guy by the name of Ira Cohn living there. Ira Cohn was like, he was 15, 20 years older than me, a photographer. He did Mylar. He photographed like Jimi Hendrix on Mylar. He was in the Living Theater, blah, 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 blah. And he had a little club inside his place that these Dutch guys brought some speakers overland from Europe to put in there. And it's like, you know, it's a soiree of the night. It was the only place in Kathmandu you could hang out. Maybe there's 20, 30 people in there. And I'm in there with my friend who's my guide, Paul. Okay. And in walks this sadhu. And I had pictures of him. Anyway, all he's got on is a coconut bowl hat, and he's got wearing like a lungi, which is like a sarong, but it's tied up like a diaper
kind of.
almost.
Yeah.
And he's carrying this iron trishul that looks like a trident with three forks. He's got a little red dot in the middle of his head, and these dreadlocks, these red dreadlocks, they use,
Baba, yeah?
they use like urine to bleach their hair.
Wow,
and I'm
okay.
saying, what's the story with this guy? My friend Paul, his name was Paul. What's his story? You know, he's the only guy in here. Oh, he's the local nagab. I said, okay, well, you know, that's cool. What does he do? He says, you want to see what he does? I said, yeah. He says, I'll arrange a performance for tomorrow. I said, okay. Doesn't tell me any more than that. But in the morning, 10:30, we're supposed to meet this guy at the Pashupati Ghats. That's where they burn the bodies.
Okay.
You've been there, yeah?
I've been there.
Yeah, pretty
Like you told me to go, I remember.
trippy place.
It's a very trippy place because I'm going to say one thing before just
Go right ahead.
interrupt you. Like, Nepal's a very blissful and beautiful place. Like, the energy is very, very calming. Wherever you walk around, I don't know, I feel like there's a way to things, there's a flow, which is kind of similar to Bali because it is Buddhist, correct? That's where Buddha was born. But this place, how do you say it again? Like,
Pashupati.
Pashupati.
This is a Hindu place.
Hindu place. So this place is slightly different to the rest of Nepal because the energy is a bit more intense. You can feel it. Everywhere else is very chill and relaxed, but when you get to this specific area, it's a lot more intense. You can feel it. It's because they cremate bodies, correct?
Well, the whole village, the whole town is based on death.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people selling shrouds. There's people selling firewood. There's centers selling oil to burn the bodies. Well, I mean, I don't know any of this. I've never been there before. We walked down to the river, and sure enough, there's a body burning going on.
Well, there's bodies all lined across the whole river.
But the interesting thing is they don't have enough wood there to make really a funeral pyre like this. It's about as tall as this table right here. And they put the body, and it's about as long. It's not even as long as a human being. So the head is over the side, and the legs are over the side.
So
it's got a shroud on there. There's got these people doing puja, walking around. And they light this thing. They pour oil on it. They light it on there. The heat from the flame all of a sudden heats up the body, and the head jerks up, and the legs jerk up. And well, wait a minute.
What's happening here?
Introduction.
Oh, God.
So across the river are these stupas where it's like a holy ground.
Yeah,
Go
those
across,
like kind of coney type things.
Exactly. We go across, and there's the sadhu waiting in front of one of these stupas. He's got like this mat set on the ground, and I'm with a couple friends of mine. I'm with my guide, and I'm with another friend of mine, and he's there with his dreadlocks. He's got his chillum with his hash there, but of course it's like, you know, these guys are beggars. They don't really have the best smoke. I mean, I have a little piece on me, so we put it out there. We smoke this chillum. He's not allowed to touch women.
Okay.
That's part of the sect of the Nagababas. And what they do...
That doesn't sound too good.
Here's where the story begins.
Okay.
What they do... I don't know this, though, just like you don't know what I'm going to tell you. What they do, they believe that the sexual energy interferes with the Godhead. So the males, what they do, they take their penis and they take a truncheon and they smack their penis and they just pulverize it. They couldn't get a hard on if they wanted to. They've killed their sexual energy. So what this guy does, he claims, after we smoked the chillum and everything, he claims that he can lift a 50-kilo rock with his cock. So,
yes, you heard that right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. So I'm saying, yeah, well.
You should say, all right, mate.
So he takes off, he stands up, he takes off his lungi, he's naked. Yeah. He's only got this coconut bowl hat that's like a baking bowl. He's got this iron trishul. He's taken off his lungi, and he makes it into a children's, like a diaper, triangular shape there. And he's standing there with his trishul, and he stands up, and he takes this trishul, and his cock is like as limp as a spaghetti. And he starts to wind his cock around this trishul, called a trident, and he takes it and puts it behind his legs like this, and he's stretching. He's doing a limbering up exercise. That's just the limbering up. Now he's ready for the main act.
Oh, that wasn't the main act, by the way. No. Now he's ready for the main act. Okay.
Now he makes this triangular, like diaper shape out of his lungi, and he's looking for a rock. You know, he's looking for this rock, and I'm saying, you know, he says he could do 50 kilos. I say, look, man, you could do 20 kilos.
You don't have to impress me. You don't have to impress me.
You know, so he does find the rock. I'm going to show you a picture of the rock.
Okay.
I'm going to show you a picture of this guy doing this, because it's amazing I even have him. And he bends down he kneels down over the diaper. He ties it into like a triangular point and ties it onto his limpid dick. Now he's kneeling. He's on the ground. The rock must be like 50 pounds, 20 kilos at least. And he gets there and he starts to stand up.
As he stretches it.
And he's stretching his dick is stretching like, you know, you would make spaghetti. And it's like he's doing this, and he lifts it up, and I should have pictures to prove it. You know
I mean, I don't know if it's allowed on YouTube, but,
Okay.
but we don't want to get demonetized.
So this was like, introduction to like Nepal.
Okay. What a way to start the podcast, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's funny because it's like I can't show the pictures, and the pictures verify the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like anybody can tell a tale.
I have seen the picture before on your you showed it to me.
I put it up on YouTube, on Instagram, and they blocked me.
Yeah, there you go. That's the thing.
But, I didn't, and I wrote back, and I said, come on, man, this is like, cultural practice, it's like, but they blocked me.
But for the editors, if you want, you can put on the screen a picture of a nagababa, because I'm sure there are some.
I have them on their heads. Though,
yeah, there are some clean images of nagababas on Google. So if you want to pop one on the screen, just for the viewers, so they have a quick little picture of what this type of human being does look like.
So I have my friend there, and I'm there for a month. I go up to Swayambhu. I see the Buddhist temple there. It's a Buddhist and Hindu temple, and there's monkeys all around, and there's people circulating, doing puja around this mountain.
That's with that big rolling thing, right?
That's
that
right.
In the temples, they roll this big type of spinning thing.
And it was interesting. Then I go up to I've got this guide who's been there 10 years, so I'm taking advantage to the max. So we go up to this little town called Dhulikhel. It's like 5,000 meters up in the Himalayas. It's like it's a pass, and you go through, and you see like these peaks that are like 6,000 meters. You think you hit but there's a town there. And in this town, this Indian Swami wandered in one day from India, Hindu. He's got this turban and everything. And they set him up in this little house on the main road. It doesn't have a front wall, and it's got all like, the Hindu pictures, and it's got a couple statues. And his trick, he's got all wrapped up in like a turban. And he's got a beard, and he's got like the right beads and all that.
Beads,
his trick is, he says,
his trick is
he can light the chillum by snapping his finger. That's what he claims.
Okay.
That's
that would be pretty handy, to be fair.
Well, I'm a little skeptical of this one. I mean, I saw the Nagababa stretch his dick out, but this guy, the light is fucking, this is a little bit more.
That's a bit more.
So he does this. We sit down next to him, and the little kids are sitting next to us. The story is he wanders in from India, and he brings, because he's got this one trick down, all these people come too, to pay him tribute. Yeah. And this town grows up by having this guy as like a
show.
Show.
Yeah.
So he loads up the chillum, everything. I'm like looking really intense. I'm watching because I'm really skeptical of this whole thing. And he does it, and then he lights it, and it's lit. But I'm not sure what happened.
There's some sort of hand trick.
I don't know. Okay. Really, to this day, I still don't know. I mean, he wouldn't do it again.
Okay. He wouldn't do it again.
But I said,
it's a one-time thing, no refunds.
And that was my rainy season for that, and I would go, and then it was back to Bali.
Yeah.
When you landed in Bali, first of all, you couldn't fly direct to Bali in those days because the airport was too small, so you had to take a big plane to Jakarta and then take a smaller jet to Bali.
Go
you
domestic.
get to Bali and you get off at the airport, and all the smell of cloves from Kratek cigarettes was just all over
everywhere.
Because
everyone would smoke anywhere, right?
Everywhere,
everyone's smoking.
So the first time I'm here, I walk out of the airport, and I'm like looking, and there was a 1962 Chevrolet for a taxi.
For a taxi.
That's the taxis. In those days, there was no new cars, no Japanese cars, nothing. A couple old American cars were up from Australia, some old junkers
Jeeps.
And stuff, Jeep. There were no cars.
Okay.
I mean, it was like, there was one petrol station in Denpasar.
Wow.
It was pretty amazing. Nothing in Kuta Legian.
Yeah. Just beautiful beaches.
The beach from Kuta to Double Six, from Kuta to Padma, was nothing there. Kuta, there were people. Jalan Padma had a little. Then Padma to Double Six, there was nothing.
Coconut groves.
But it was a coconut grove from all the way there. There was no rice fields.
Yeah.
It was too dry. These were the poorest people in Bali. Now they're the richest.
Now they're the richest, exactly.
Yeah, they
How
are
times
the richest.
change.
Yeah, exactly. So, but down where when I get out of the airport, I get in this taxi. I say to the taxi driver, "Take me." I'm with my girlfriend at the time. And I say, take us to the furthest place you could stay on this beach. And where did they take us to at that time? It was down to Blue Ocean on Double Six.
Okay. Good old Blue Ocean beach.
And Blue Ocean had about 50 freaks from Goa that would migrate from the rainy season and come to Bali.
Yeah.
And that's where I was hanging out. And it's in those days, that was actually a nude beach.
Yep.
And there was nothing from there. You could see all the way down the beach to Kuta, nothing.
Zero. Wow.
The other direction, only up to the Oberoi. the Oberoi was the only thing there.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Oberoi then. It was called the Kaiuaya.
The Kaiuaya.
And it's like the guy who built the Oberoi was this Pepsi-Cola heir. He built it. He got ripped off with his Balinese partner. They booted him out. Now he's got the Oberoi as it exists today.
Yeah.
He built this beautiful hotel, and he had this Balinese landlord that didn't know fuck all about, like, you know, running a place. So what's he do? He rents it out to the freaks from Goa. And I'm renting a villa there for like $7 a night.
And that's where you live currently, no? Still in Double Six Beach.
I live right there. I've been living there for the same
And how many
area.
years has that been now?
45.
45 years. Wow. Okay.
Well, I left for 5 years. I went to Africa.
Okay.
But that's,
We'll
you know,
get
I
it done.
came back to that area again.
Yeah.
So I'm living there in Blue Ocean, and I'm one of the freaks from Goa says, man, you can get this place at Kaiuai, the Oberoi. You can get a villa for $7 a night.
Wow.
So that, yeah, exactly.
$7 a night.
Yeah, right.
Now the best you're gonna get is 70 if you find anything, and that's like a
The
shot.
Oberoi is $750 a
Yeah.
minimum. So same house, by
Still
the
a
way, same
beautiful
thing.
hotel,
And
though,
I
wow.
go there, and it's loaded with antiques.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful antiques that the guy, the Pepsi-Cola billionaire, collected to put in there. It looks great. It looks the same buildings and everything. And I stay there, and then one night I find like somebody crawling on the floor trying to rob me, and I move out the next day. And where do I move? Another friend of mine tells me they just opened up this place right on the rice fields, right in Seminyak, called Golden Village.
Okay, Gyno Golden Village. Yep.
So this was the first place out of Kuta, and it was the first place made out of bamboo.
Yeah.
Before, the Balinese used to make their sheds out of bamboo, but actually this guy from an American guy, an old freak by the name of John Chick, he talked to a Gung boss, the owner, and he got him to build these bamboo houses.
The two-story ones. Yeah.
First there were one-stories,
first
and there were only 6 of them.
Okay.
And I'm staying in one, it's a little semicircle. There's no motorcycles. There's
Yeah.
only one motorcycle rental place in Kuta, Kusnadi, which Abdul actually financed
Yeah.
at the time. And it's like, you know, they were the only
Of course
ones.
he did. Good old legend.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, there was no place. So, you know, if you had a motorcycle, you were king. The roads, there were no lights on the roads. So, and there were no restaurants.
Yeah.
The only restaurant was Madej's Warang all the way in Kuta.
Madej's Warang. Shout out to Madej's Warang, Raymond and all those boys. Shout out to them.
So you had to drive right in from Seminyak there, and the road had these potholes as big as this table, and there was no lights, and these dogs would come out because the dogs were all...
the dogs back in the day were
Oh, yeah.
everywhere. The
They
Bali,
were,
good
they
old
were
Bali
good
dogs.
watchdogs.
Yeah, the
but
best.
someone would come out and go for you on the
Oh,
motorcycle.
they still do to this
A couple
day.
times you had to literally ride over the dog, because if you didn't, if you veered, you were going down.
Yeah.
And it's like that. We go in the Madej's Warang, and that was the only place. In those days, there was no daylight savings time.
Okay.
So it got dark at 5:30 here.
Wow.
So the Balinese, and with no electricity. This is why the Balinese believe in the spirits and the Lewak and the Hantu and
Yeah.
everything,
Chilolo.
is because there was no electricity.
Yeah.
The only time they would go out would be on the upacharas, on the full moon and the half moon.
So upachara means ceremony.
Ceremonies, and they're lunar, so it's like every 15 days. But it's more than that. This was like a festival. Like the women, now if you see the upacharas, the ceremonies, they're all wearing like costumes. They're all wearing one color. Everything is, you know, homogenized. In those days, one of them would have a green and one of them have a purple top. It was really colorful.
Yeah.
And the women would be all chattering. The kids were watching puppet shows.
Yeah, running
And they
around.
would do this dance with the Chris's. The Chris dance, I call it the Chris dance fandango.
So Chris is a big ancient Balinese sword, if any of you don't know, which kind of goes like this in a way.
Wiggly.
Yeah, wiggly sword. We can get one on the screen if you're the editor. Put one on, a picture of a Chris. But yeah, go on. That's what it is. A
So-
Balinese sword.
And everybody, it's a big thing. As soon as like it starts, everybody's quiet. The kids are in the trees looking down. The women are there, and everybody's watching it. And it's between the good and the bad, Rangda and the Barang, yin and the yang. But at some point, these guys come out, and they've got these squiggly swords, and they're going to attack the evil force. But the evil force rejects it, and they turn the swords upon themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like these swords are sharp. And it's like they're pushing the sword
Into their
and
chest.
you can see the sword bending a little
Wow.
bit. Of course, I'm as cynical as I could possibly be,
Yeah.
and I think it's a trick, of course. And they go into this trance, and they come out of trance, they carry
They
it out.
still do it to this day.
Of course. And I go over to see one of these Chris's, and I put my thumb on that Chris man that pointed at Chris. Was sharp. I'm watching this guy push this Chris, and
With
he's
full
bending
force.
the Chris,
Yeah.
and I wonder what the fuck
Yeah.
is going. welcome to Bali.
Welcome to Bali.
You know,
There
it's
go.
like, you know, you're in a different land.
Yep.
And the great thing about Bali is
The culture.
the culture. There are more beautiful places in the world, but the Balinese are the best.
Yep.
Maybe the Tibetans are pretty good, but it's so cold up there.
Yep.
You know, here these people were so accommodating. And so, you know, what
Thank
can
you.
I say about them? You know, it's like, and it exists the way it does today. People forget
Because of the
80% of the people come here don't have anything to do with the
I
Balinese.
can't say anything more positive than honestly the Balinese people being born here, which I am so blessed to be. Thank you to mom and dad for that, because I don't know where I would be without being born here. But just how nice and welcoming the people are here. You know, just for a quick example, if you're riding your motorbike down the road and you get a flat tire, somebody will jump out in the middle of a minute and a half and want to help you with that flat tire and not ask for money, not try and rob you.
Dude.
They just want to help you. Anywhere else in the world right now, good luck with any of that. Do you know what I mean? They're the most welcoming, nice people ever. So
Before they fixed the roads, at nighttime, I used to rent a car like in the 80s and drive down the beach.
Yeah.
And sometimes the sand would be high. Just what you're saying, I get stuck
Yep.
before coming back up on the road and stuff. And 10 guys would come out of nowhere and lift up the car.
Yep.
You lift it,
Yep.
you know, and put me back on track
Yep.
and everything. So the Balinese people are just like number one on the planet Earth.
Number
There's
one.
no other place that a foreign culture accepts like a diverse culture like Westerners. And it's like, this is it. And I say to everybody, young or old here, you know, they ask me about the good old days, and yeah, they were nice days, but they're still nice.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, it's like, I say, you must have done something right to get here.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know your story, you don't know mine, but to wind up here, you did something right.
Yep.
Because in my life, and I've been around the block, and it's like this best place on the planet is Bali and the Balinese people.
Asrankara, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So moving forward, we spoke about obviously getting to Nepal and Bali. Would you say Africa was a big part of your life as well, and being a part in Africa? Because I know you got a couple or more than one great story about being in the beautiful country and land of Africa.
I never was programmed. I always wanted to come to Asia.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much accidental that I went to Africa. I actually went to see my friend Claude, who was opening up a disco there in Malindi. And
We have to give a big shout out to Mr. Claude. On the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah.
We have to. Hats
Claude
off
is-
to Mr. Claude. He'll be on soon, I think. Probably the next episode, or the episode after. We won't get too much into
Yeah.
him because he is a walking book of amazing things in life.
Right.
But shout out to Claude.
So I knew him from Bali. He had moved to Africa. I was on my way to South America. I come to Africa. I'm supposed to stay there for 2 weeks. And it's like he says, look, man, I'm closing that. I'm finished with the club and turning it over to management. In 2 months, if you hang out here with me for 2 months, we'll go on safari. So my 2-week span turns into 2 months, and he shuts down the club, and we go on a safari for a month, like an incredible safari.
Where was that club, though?
Malindi.
In Malindi, okay.
Malindi. He had the only light show in sub-Saharan Africa.
Wow.
So at 12 o'clock, the whole, as big as this room, the whole ceiling comes down with these neon lights and things. People would come 200 miles, 200, 300 kilometers to see this thing that he was doing. So in the 2 months, I meet all these people.
Yeah.
So after we go on safari, which is another story in itself, Claude splits, I go into South America, I come back from South America, but I know all these people from the club because everybody would come to his club. And I'm staying in a guest house in Karen outside of Nairobi, which Karen, after Karen Blixen, is like the elite neighborhood, the high-end neighborhood.
And Nairobi's Kenya, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's Kenya.
Okay.
And it's like, it's the first time I've been away from the sea. It's like, it's 500 clicks inland, and it's like 1,500 meters high.
Okay.
So it gets chilly there. So I'm staying with this friend of mine. I'm actually on my way back to Bali. I'm in Africa. My next hop is back to Bali. But I'm staying at a friend's guest house, and she says to me, she's like an ex-model. She says, look, I'm going over to see my old boyfriend, Peter Beard. Well, I know who Peter Beard is through my old girlfriend. He's a famous photographer. He found him on. He was like, put him on the cover of Vogue. He was the Rolling Stones tour photographer for a year. He's got a lot. He dated Jackie Kennedy's sister, and he was on the Onassis, blah, 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 blah. He was really, but I heard of him.
Okay.
Are we running down?
No, we're good.
Okay, good.
Don't worry, we're good.
I'll try and talk a little faster.
We're doing perfect. We're doing perfect.
So on a Sunday afternoon, We go over there to see Peter, and he's living outside the game park. It's like 20K out of like Nairobi. There's like, it's 5K from the game park. It's got lions and this and that. But he's living in a tented camp, and but overlooks the Ngong Hills. It was the last section of the Karen Blixen estate from out of Africa fame that she owned this coffee plantation, and there was one chunk of land that Peter actually went to Denmark, went to Karen Blixen, and talked to her, and took the last photographs of her in her life, and came back to Kenya, hired her old servant Kamanti to come with him into the camp, sets up this tented camp, overlooked the Ngong Hills, and Peter's there on a Sunday afternoon by himself. Well, why is he there? He's there because his wife from the States, who was like, a Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover, wanted a divorce from him and wanted to take his house in Montauk, where he had this place there. And he had it before he was married, so he does a runner to Africa, to this land he's got there that he got in 1963. There's no other place like it. Okay. And he calls it Hog Ranch, and here's where I wind up, in his tented camp, and he's there. And I know who he is, but I'm not really impressed by fashion photographers. It doesn't really, I've been with some crazy people, and fashion photographers didn't ring the bell for me totally. So, Peter, we sit down. We smoke one together, he talks, he gives us a tour of the property, sits us down at sunset. What happens? These 7 giraffes come wandering in from next door, from the giraffe manor, that they're kept locked up till 5 o'clock, and then they're released because they eat all the leaves on the tree. There's nothing to eat there. Yeah. So they come over, and Peter's got like a 25 kilo sack of grain that he's sitting in the chair, in a camp chair with a plastic wash basin full of the grain, and there's 2 giraffes standing maybe 3 meters away, arched in, eating out of his lap.
Wow.
That's my first day.
Wow.
And he says, they come, they eat, and then they go, and they forage around. They're walking around.
Very beautiful creatures.
So it's getting sunset, and it's time for me to go back to, he says to me, listen, Ease, you want to stay with me? And there's no computers, there's no faxes, there's no nothing in those days. It's like everything is like you have to make decisions really up in the up and up. You meet somebody, it's no like I'll call you later. Yeah. It's this or that. He asked me if I wanted to stay. I just met the guy. I said, see these giraffes eating on a lap, there's the 3 tents. I said, yeah, sure.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So I move in the next day, and I stay there for 9 months while he's like, his wife is trying to get this land, and they're bickering back and forth through lawyers. And I'm going on safaris with Peter, man, and it's like, I've got these models coming in that, like, they're just to have their picture taken by him.
With these animals as well.
With him, and this one, Janice Dickinson, who considers herself the first supermodel, who was like an incredibly ballsy chick. She was like, she dated Mick Jagger, she dated Sylvester Stallone, and here she flies in, and Peter is going to do a shoot with her. She brings in these just some swim costumes that she got from, I forgot the designer's name in France that gave it to her. But anyway, so Peter's going to do a shoot with her, and he takes her down to the crocodile. There's a crocodile farm.
Okay.
I mean, big crocs, like 5 meter long crocs.
African crocs, proper ones.
These crocs are raised for their skins. The wild crocs can't be used for skins because the water's too alkaline or something. They have to raise them and feed them on a certain diet. But they're big. Yeah. So anyway, he gets Janice. They dope up this croc. They put a rock in the croc's mouth, and the mouth falls open. And it's like this girl, Janice, is stretched out in a bikini on the back of the thing. I have the photograph, man. It was insane.
She's laying on the back of a crocodile.
Yes, on a 15-foot crocodile. With its mouth open you don't know that it's drugged and there's a stone in its mouth. There's a rock holding the jaw. But it's a fantastic photograph. And he's got these photos. So I'm hanging out with him. And after 9 months, his ex-wife finally cracks. She says, okay, you can have your property. He's going to go back to New York City. He has his birthday party in Studio 54. He's like a celebrity. He's friend on the mantle of the tent where I was living was like a postcard, a hand-drawn postcard by Picasso to Peter. Wow. He was best friends with Francis Bacon, the artist. Dolly came and visited him there. I had pictures of Dolly in Africa at his place.
Yeah.
Bobby Kennedy came.
Okay.
You know, when I was there, Isabella Rossellini came, you know. So, but also hookers, politicians.
Yeah.
He was like a man for all seasons. He was like, you know.
The place to be in Africa.
Yeah. If you were coming to Kenya, you would go see Peter. That was the idea. So anyway, after 9 months, he's going back. He says, I got the land of it. He says, I'm thinking, great, I had a 9-month run here. This is fantastic.
I've done a good job.
I said, you know, this is better than anything I could have, you know, dreamed of. He says, but you know something, if you want to, you can stay here as long as you like. I said, really? He says, yeah, I see how much you like the place. I said, yeah, okay, I'll stay. So I wound up staying there for the next 3.5 years.
Okay, nice. Couldn't get rid of you.
Dude, he would come back every 6-7 months, and for a couple of months we'd gone safari and we'd spend some time, and I wrote a little book about those days and with him because there were no paparazzi around. And when he's in the West, he's under all the lights, people are following him and everything. But when I'm with him getting high and stuff, you know, it's just me and him. So I went to some incredible safaris. Finally, so Peter basically is a fuck off. He's a great photographer, but he's a terrible businessman. Like a lot of great artists.
That's why he's a photographer.
But he's got a great agent by the name of Peter Rivera, who's like the grandson of Marlene Dietrich, and who really loves Peter. And he finally, after years and years of trying, he gets him this shot, this chance to do a program for ABC, a 7-part series, Peter Beard in Africa.
Okay.
And I'm out there. And I'm at the camp, the camera crew's there and everything. They've arranged to go in the game park, and they're going to film this calf rhino with its mother. And they have like a park ranger with a rifle, and they have this guy who's a wildlife expert by the name of Terry. He's got a patch over his eye, but he's retired now. He makes bronzes and everything. And he's the expert. Peter's there. But I can't go because of insurance reasons too, so I'm waiting at the camp while they're doing this shoot. And they've got 2 cameramen, one at 30 meters and one at 60 meters. And there's this rhino at about 50 meters in front of them with a baby calf in a little gully. And there's like Peter and Terry walking, all mic'd up with the camera, one at 30 and one at 60 behind them. And it's like, you know, they're walking up and Terry's saying, you know, and they hear a horn in the background. There was a car, a tourist horn, and the guard who had the rifle went to get the tourist away. In the interim, the rhino hears it, listens to the mother, and there's the calf behind it, hears it. It takes a few steps towards Peter and Terry. And Terry's the wild expert, wildlife. He says, oh, it's nothing, he'll bugger off, there's no problem. No, they always bugger off, they never come closer. And it's like, you know, it's coming a little closer. And Terry's about 10 years older than Peter. Peter's about 10 years, so I'm like, you know, Peter's about 45, Terry's about 60 at the time. So it's like, you know, and Terry's like the wild, the mics are working, and here comes the rhino, starts to come. And Terry says, oh, don't worry, it'll bugger off, it'll bugger off. Peter says, yeah. Well, Peter says to me later, he says, well, I knew one thing, I'm faster than him. If it's going to hit somebody, it's going to get me. It starts coming, and Peter turns and runs away. Terry holds his ground for a minute and sees this rhino charging, and he turns around to run, and he trips.
Oh, no.
He goes down on the ground, and he gets up on one knee. Instead of lying prone or anything, the rhino's coming.
Is this before or after the eye patch?
This is after. No, this is after the eye patch. He's wearing an eye patch. And he's 60 years old. And he's not, you know, he's got a, you know. The rhino's coming.
With the baby.
Rhino's coming. He's lying there. He gets up on one knee like a fool. The rhino hooks him right here, tosses him over the rhino's head. It must be 3 meters higher than the rhino, and he lands 10 meters behind.
Oh my God, so the rhino actually gets him.
Oh, it got him. First time it's ever been filmed, only time. Peter, the cameraman at 30 meters, ran away. He was so pissed, he was so scared. But the guy at 60 meters caught the whole thing.
He's like, bullseye, I got the shot.
Peter gets the film immediately, because they rushed the guy to the hospital. He's, you know, he's in intensive care.
Did it pierce him through?
It pierced him, man. I mean, it lamed him. I mean, the guy walks, lucky he's alive, really, literally.
Jesus.
But Peter grabs the film, comes back to the hog ranch where I am. I start to grill him about the questions, what happened, and I get the play-by-play because that's my nature. And it's like he says, yeah, I got to get this film out of here immediately because I know there's going to be a court suit. They're going to sue me,
okay.
The ABC, and I want to send, this has never been filmed before. Yeah. And he thinks that this is going to be like the opening for his 7-part series of like Peter Beard in Africa.
Yeah, but what a piece of content, right?
What happens is he gets sued. It takes like 3 years to settle the suit, and it's like by the time there, it's old news. The one episode gets shown on ABC if anyone gets a chance. Peter Beard, ABC in Africa. That's incredible because they show the whole thing, the rhino tossing them and everything.
So Peter
like
Beard, ABC in Africa, ABC all capitals.
Yeah. So in all, like I'm staying there for like most of the time by myself, but every night I'm feeding these giraffes. Yeah. It's like these giraffes, like clockwork. As soon as the sun comes down, I can hear them from a distance. The hoofs are so big, it's like a herd coming in. So I have to be prepared in the chair with the grain. Yeah. But sometimes I'm a little stoned or something and I forget, and I hear them coming and I say, shit, I don't have the grain. I have to run over to the cookhouse with the plastic tub, fill it up, come back, and hopefully get in the chair before the giraffes arrive. But no, they're already at the front door of the cookhouse, and it's like, I can't get out. There's 2 giraffes there. I can't get to my chair. They can't get into the cookhouse, but I really do like this ritual. I'm a little stoned at the time. Yeah. So what, I think what I'll do is, because I have to mention because I'm stoned, because I wouldn't be stupid enough to do this today. So I think I can get out the back door of the cookhouse, run to my chair, and the giraffes won't know I'm doing it. I get about halfway, and they're like 2 steps, they're on me. And they got me pinned against the side of the tent with the overhang, and I'm holding like this, their food.
Like, give me the food.
Now, the thing about giraffes is they can kick in 4 directions. They can kick sideways, backwards, and forwards. Okay. And this giraffe in there and kicks sideways and kicks the tub of food out of my hand. If it would have hit like 5 centimeters more, it would have hit me.
Yeah, and broke your rib or something.
They can kill a lion.
Easily.
They can kill a lion. So, of course, there was that. We had and the place was called Hog Ranch because he had 20 warthogs there. There was a leopard there. There was 100 different species of birds. Wow. And it's like, basically, I was blowing with the wind and I didn't have any program. Yeah. And I said, what
a place to be, though, right? If that's your agenda.
Man,
wow.
What a place. And it was my base camp there to go off and travel more, because once I was in and I knew all these people that lived there, the white Kenyans who were colonial stock, there's not that many of them left. Yeah. They know in the bush. Yeah. That's who you want to be.
And the locals in Kenya are the Masai Mara, correct? Is that one
The Masai were the predominant tribe in Kenya. Okay. They were the heavies. Yeah. And they were so, part of them is they're fiercest warriors. Yeah. But part of their practices are they do female circumcision. Okay. And after which is a horrific ceremony I won't go into now. Yeah. But once they do that, like half the women can't get pregnant. Okay. So in the old days, the pre-colonial days, they always were on the hunt, warriors, raiding the other villages, the Kikuyus in the highlands, and taking their women. But the Kikuyu were so shit scared, they wouldn't light campfires because they were afraid they would see the smoke, say they were eating raw meat. Yeah. My friend Peter.
So they ate raw meat. They were that scared they didn't want to light a fire.
Just talk, get me going a little bit. My friend Peter has this one photograph. He's got these books out and stuff. Yeah. He's got this one photograph. I see it's this elephant lying down. It's dead because Peter, for game control in the 50s and 60s, he shot 600 elephant. He shot 500 crocodiles. There were 70,000 elephant in this one park. People didn't even know how many of them there were. Anyway, that's aside from that. So he's got this one photograph that he shot this elephant. The elephant's lying on its side, and its big elephants are like, and there's his tracker is stuck up to his waist, up the ass of the elephant. Just his legs sticking out. And he's got this photograph, and I'm trying to figure out, what the fuck is this, man? I can't believe it. So I finally get Peter. I said, Peter, what is this? And I know the guy. I know the tracker. He says, they like the intestines of the elephant when they're still warm. Okay. So he's crawled up the anus to get the intestines and pull it out.
He's gone up the
he pulls them out, pulls out the intestines, and then they just char it over a little fire and they eat them like that. But this picture, you would never be able to figure out what this guy stuck up the ass.
So the guy went into the elephant's asshole to get the
up to his waist. Up to his waist, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a new one. I've heard a lot of wild things, but that's something different.
We get back to the Masai. The Masai, man, the Masai are like the most serious people there. And I've been to like they live in this dusty place. I had a friend of mine who was a blood brother. He had an antique shop, and the Masai were bringing him some things, and he was invited to go down to their village, and I went to it. It's in the Rift Valley, so it's under sea level. It's hot as hell. And I get down there, and there's these like mud igloos with a drape, like a sarong over the front, like a red shuka. Yeah. It's like a cape that they wear to clothes. They don't have doors or anything. And we get there, and there's all these kids gathered. It's just me and my friend, who's like, the blood brother of the Masai. And these kids come up, they're covered with flies. They're like wearing sunglasses. It looks like with the flies covered. There's no sunglasses. It's like, it looks like flies feeding out of the moisture, and there's too many to even brush, because there's the corral with the cows there. That's what their thing is. And it's like, there's flies all over. I put my sunglasses on, man. They welcome us inside this little igloo. You have to bend over to get into it. And we sit down. It's like about 3 meters long by about 2 meters wide. It's like an igloo. Yeah. And they're sitting there, and the smoke is so thick that it's stinging your eyes, because they had this smoke there to keep the flies out.
Okay.
I'm inside there, and now they're going to offer us their traditional drink. Uh-huh. Now my friend's a blood brother. He does this. Okay. They take a cow. They take an arrow and a bow, and they shoot the cow at a close distance right in the jugular. Yeah. They take, the blood comes out, they collect it in a gourd in those days. Probably they use a plastic pot today. Yeah. They take it in a gourd, and they mix it with milk. Okay. And then they take a stick to get the coagulant out of the blood out there, because the stringy stuff in the blood that coagulates it, and they drink it. And my friend drinks, they offer it to me. I said, look,
I'm all right.
I'm okay.
Maybe not today.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. So, it's like, it's insane to see how they live, because they have this corral. All their cows are in there, and they don't have fences. They have like thorns, like cactuses to keep them in. But that's still not enough to keep the lions away. And they have one guy who stays in the night for his age with a spear. Yeah. And he stands on one leg, and he puts his other leg in the crook of his knee while he's standing, and he's standing there the whole night, just so the lions don't come.
Wow.
Dude, when I first went to see Claude in Africa, we went on safari. Our car broke down in the park, and we were both with these 2 Italian girls that we were with. We each had a tent of our own. And the car broke down. We got this, from the game lodge, one of the guys there to make a fire, it was about he goes and collects all this wood and stuff. It's like 2 meters high. We're going to hunker down for the night. Mm-hmm. He's going to tend the fire. It gets dark there early. Mm-hmm. 10 minutes after we crawl inside the tent, we hear these lions roaring. I mean, lions roaring. You can hear a lion's roar from 5 kilometers away. Yeah. But this lion
this is nearby.
The tent, the fabric from the tent was vibrating.
Oh my God.
So the girl, this Italian girl, has never been on safari. Yeah. She's dressed up in suede boots and fringed outfits, and she doesn't know shit. But anyway, she's scared shitless. Yeah. I'm scared. Claude's scared in his tent. We poke our head out a couple hours later, and we look. There's no sign of the guy who's tending the fire. He climbed a tree to get away.
He's smart. He's like, fuck this, I'm going high ground.
We get in there, we zip up, and the whole night they're going, because there's one pride on one side, there's one pride, and they're territorial, and they're talking to each other. And the girls are there, and I'm trying to hypnotize myself to go to sleep. I say, what the hell, Anyway, 5:30 in the morning, the first light, we get out there, we come out there, the guy climbs down from the tree. This pride of lions couldn't have been 15 meters away from us, seven lions. Oh, no. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
And this is wild lions, you know what I mean? This is an apex predator in the whole bloody jungle.
Man, when I used to live in Africa, I had a leopard that would prowl right in front of the tent every night. Yeah. It's like
it's a beautiful scenario, though. Very, very beautiful.
It's the greatest show on earth. Yeah. It's the greatest show on earth.
So swiftly moving on.
Let's do
We're
it.
gonna get into one more quick little story.
Sure.
And then I got some quick fire questions to end up the episode with. We have a good story with Mr. Jim Morrison, no? If I'm not mistaken.
Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, sorry. I think we spoke about previously that I think needs to be.
Okay, we'll do that. So I'd been away from the States for about 5 years. I never heard of Bill Murray. He came here like 1979.
Yeah.
I mean, Saturday Night Live was a big success, but I never heard about that. I didn't know anything about it. Bill comes, and in those days, he had one connection in those days, it was Mike Boyum. He knocks on Mike Boyum's door. He says, Mike, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning or something, and Mike says, who's this? It's Bill. And Bill who? He says, yeah, I was in your kindergarten class. So Boyum's like a surf freak, but he's a crazy guy. He's one of the creditors of starting in the beginning of G-Land.
Yeah.
He takes Bill Murray to G-Land.
Okay.
Bill Murray doesn't surf. Puts him out on that reef. He comes back lacerated. He's got like scratches up there. Claude runs into him. Says, look, man, you're hanging out with the wrong guys. Gets him under his wing.
Yep, nice.
We decide we're going to go spend the day at Greenball. About 10 of us. Bill, the night before, picks up this Indonesian girl. He had just broken up from his wife, from his girlfriend. This is a healing vacation for him. And he's a pretty quiet guy. Like I say, I never heard of him. I didn't know if he wasn't funny or anything. He wasn't acting. We walked from Greenball down the hill. We got on this goat path in those days. There's no elevators or anything. Into the cave. We got an ice box. We were all set up with beer and such and such. But the tide is just starting to go out. Okay. So it's pretty thin. So we walk up along this beach all the way up to the temple in Uluwatu. We walk back, which is a long walk. Yeah. So we get there, the tide's out a little bit. It's about 15 meters of beach. And Bill is lolling on the beach, half in and half out of the water, like a beached whale, rolling back and forth. And there's the four of us, two of my friends, a girl and our boyfriend, and the Indonesian girl and I, watching Bill. Now, like I say, I don't know who Bill Murray is. Yeah. And my friend's girlfriend is American. Says, "Oh, Bill, I've seen Saturday Night Live. He's so funny." I said, "Well, he's going to have to be really funny to make me laugh." And Bill's like 15 meters away, lolling half in the water, half, but looking up. And I don't know how, if he sensed it or what he did. He picks up on this, and he looks up. He's got his hands in his like this, and he sized up the audience really well. He looked at us, he nodded, he reaches down, he molds the sand into like a golf ball size of sand. And he takes it, and he drops it in his mouth, and he swallows it. To make sure it's not a sleight of hand, he picks up another piece of sand, and he does it in silhouette. So he drops it in his mouth. And man, I'm laughing so hard. To make somebody laugh, what this guy would do. Yeah. This is the Indonesian girls. Bill, you see Bill? Bill, he eats sand. You eat sand.
You're like, I'm all right, actually. Thank you. I'll let Bill eat the sand. But what a guy! Yeah. The extent stand-up comedians and funny people
for a guy, to make people laugh. But hilarious. He made me laugh. Yeah. I tell you that, man. I had one of the deepest belly laughs
There's nothing better than having that good laugh. You know, when it starts hurting.
Oh, man, you don't have them much. But when you have them, you remember them. Yeah. And Bill Murray, thank 100%.
You. Okay, I'm going to swiftly move into some like quick topic questions just to ask you some stuff because it's always good to
Go right ahead.
Always good to have your advice on things. What do you think are some of the current world problems we have currently in this world? I know there's a list of many and many and many, but if you could pick out three weird life problems we are going through right now, and what you would say you could do to fix them or give advice to people that are going through them. Just something at the top of your head.
Well, without answering that, I say it's like you had to do something right to be here, because being in Bali is like in a bubble away from the world. You don't have to deal with the problems of the world. The problem in the world is it is a world, it is global. We have the same water, we have the same air, and we get into this this old caveman DNA, my, I. And it's like, I don't really want to talk about, I think there's solutions to everything,
Solutions, exactly.
But there's no willpower to implement anything.
Okay.
And I think it's seen, it's like with the climate change and this, with everything we do, and it's like instead of moving forward, we're moving backward.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything derogatory.
Of course.
About politics or religion or anything, but I will generalize and say that, in my opinion, religion stands in the way of progress and is holding us back from moving forward with things that, like, we're basing our philosophy on something that happened 2,000 years ago before we had microscopes, telescopes, anything, and we're still blocked and locked into, like, a parochial way of thinking that is outdated. Yeah. And it doesn't look good.
No,
I will say this one thing. The Tyrannosaurus Rex ruled as the #1 apex predator on the planet Earth for 15 million years. I don't see humans doing it.
No, very, very true. I think what you said that stood out the most is we are going backwards instead of forwards. People may think we're going forwards in terms of rockets and all this shit and AI, but in my opinion, that is not going to be the way forward. That is actually going to be the end of us. I think we're just going to leave it in that term because it goes down a big rabbit hole.
There's no stopping it, though.
If you could have dinner with 3 people dead or alive, who are you?
Alive.
Thinking? They could be dead or alive. Who are you? Who are you
well,
going
we'll
to dinner
start with
with?
alive, man. That's a tough question, man. I once had a chance to have dinner with Mick Jagger and David Bowie at the same time, and I didn't do it because I was young and I was stupid. Yeah. But today, who stands out in my mind? I can't really think of, like,
they can be someone who used to be alive. They can be dead. If you're just going for dinner with 3 people at a table, dead or alive, who 3 people are you picking?
Well, I mean, because I like what he writes and everything, Bill Bryson, because he's like, he makes things simple for stupid people like me. Okay. Him, I really can't, nobody comes to my mind.
Not Bob Marley?
Bob Marley, when I used to live in Jamaica, when I was first coming to Bali, I used to do 6 months Jamaica, 6 months Bali. I lived in the grill. This is pretty, in those days, nothing there. And Bob Marley used to live in the house that I lived in when I wasn't in Jamaica. Okay. Yeah, but I never met him. But my housekeeper, who I knew quite well, said he was a very quiet guy. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Bob Marley, he'd be interested. David Bowie. David Bowie was
killer. What a man he was.
Yeah.
Definitely.
John Lennon.
John Lennon's a good one as well. John Lennon's a very good one. And then I think that's pretty much it.
I appreciate it.
I will go with one more last one here that I have written down. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Well, in an indirect way, is patience.
Good one.
It's like when you're young and dumb and everything is coming so fast at you, you don't take time to think. And if you take time to think, you'll come up with a better solution. Yeah. But that's something, I was very impetuous, and it took me a long time to learn that.
It's very, very hard to learn. That's something I'm learning every day, is patience and listening.
The other thing is this, I say is this. Any anger, when we get angry, like I just did at the taxi driver here, it's all an act, man. If you let it get into you, it's like you're releasing toxins in your body. You're not doing yourself any good. No, so, it's like you have to control your anger. I mean, you could act angry, but to really be angry, you better have a good reason, because you're hurting yourself more than you're hurting the other person. Yeah.
And it only gives out a negative frequency that leads to more negative stuff. But yeah, Ease, I think we can do this for another 4 hours if we wanted to. But unfortunately,
I'm happy that you had me, man.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, Easy. Thank you so much. And I think we will do it again. Definitely do it in the future, because I think there's a lot more we can talk about.
I'm full of stories. I was a story collector.
Exactly.
I mean, I traveled for since I was 22, now I'm 77 years old. So I'm like, I always, even a down and out junkie, I would drill because I knew there was something there for them to have gotten to the place I've gotten to. There were gems in there. And I always would write down these stories because I knew at some point in my life that my memory couldn't remember. I couldn't memorize them all. Yeah,
that is why I got you on here today. So your stories can live forever. And I think you should write a book, or maybe you already are. But if not, we have the Kaizai podcast for you to tell and share your stories as a vault. And I think we will definitely do it again, my brother. So thank you very much for coming on.
Well, thank you, man, for having me, man.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Love you,
man.
Love you, man. man.
You know it. You know it.
And everyone that is watching, thank you for tuning in. I'll put Easy's Instagram in the description so you can check out all his cool photos and stuff like that. Go and check him out. And yeah, follow Kaizai on all social platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and all the links will be in the description down below. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 15. And sorry it was a late one, guys, but we'll be back for more. And see you guys on the next one. Peace.